The stocks and the $20 million inheritance from my father-in-law will be passed on to the eldest daughter, my wife. Smiling, Michael exchanged glances with me and the relatives. Could it be that Michael knows nothing about it? Glancing at Emily, she had a surprised look on her face that made us all put on serious expressions. I said, "What?" in response. Michael then looked puzzled and began to show signs of unease. "What?" and Michael returned the question with a similarly clueless expression. He really doesn't know anything. This could be a good opportunity, couldn't it? I managed to suppress my laughter and kept a straight face. "Michael, you're not aware of it, are you? What are you talking about? Emily has no right to the inheritance." "What? You must be joking." "Really, I may be younger, but I wish you would show a bit more respect." As Michael started to show clear signs of irritation, I smiled sweetly at him. "Because Emily is. I am James, a 34-year-old married man with 2 children. My father was a successful businessman with many stocks, and frankly, we never struggled for money. If only you would take over as my successor." My father had hoped, and I wanted to meet that expectation, but I had a dream I needed to fulfill. I dreamed of running a diner, serving dishes I cooked. I preferred the struggles of cooking over studying business management. "You're not cut out to be my successor." Seeing my interest was solely in cooking, my father gave up and supported my dream. He provided the funds for culinary school and to start a diner, allowing me to manage my dream diner while doing the cooking as well. Thanks to my business studies, I managed the diner well, and now we're expanding with 2nd and 3rd locations. At our first location, where I am, there's my wife who cooks with me, our children who eagerly help out, and colleagues who have been with us since the start, creating a homey atmosphere. Of course, our dishes like the richly simmered stew, fluffy omelets, and hashed browns crispy on the outside, soft on the inside, are our pride. My father, whom we invited, praised our food with tears in his eyes. I wished to invite my mother too, but she had already passed away. Instead, I invited my sister Emily to the diner. "Your cooking has always been delicious since we were kids." Despite her words, I don't have much interaction with Emily. Since going to culinary school and living on my own, I hadn't been in much contact with her. Emily is married to Michael, my elder brother-in-law. To be honest, I was worried about Emily because of Michael. "James," William called, "Thanks," on a day off from the diner. While I was engrossed in the accounting, I received a call from my best friend, William. William, my best friend since high school, is now a skilled lawyer. "Sorry to keep you, William, what's up? Calm down and listen. Your dad has." That's when I heard the news of my father's passing. My father had terminal cancer and was hospitalized for a long time. Because he didn't want to show his children his weak side, he had endured the pain, which eventually delayed his treatment. "James, Emily, you are busy people, so don't come more than once a month." He said so, hardly allowing us to visit him. By the time he was taken to the hospital, it was too late, and I had prepared myself for the time. Or so I thought. Before I knew it, I found myself being supported by my wife, organizing the funeral. I looked for Emily during the funeral, thinking she must be upset, but she was nowhere to be found. Confused and having a bad feeling about it, but as the main organizer, I couldn't just leave, leaving me in a helpless situation. "James, my condolences on your loss." "William, thank you for everything. I owed a lot to your dad." William looked up to my father as an uncle and received support from him for his legal career. With that history, William, along with his wife, has been supporting me. "So, where's Emily?" I did reach out, but no response. Checking my phone, I saw that I had indeed contacted Emily. But the call went to voicemail, and my messages remained unread. I was worried about my sister, but attending to the guests who came for my father's funeral left me no time to reach out. After the funeral was over, when things finally settled down and we gathered their relatives to open the will with William acting as a lawyer, that's when it happened. "We're here. Michael, wait. Emily, Michael, and their little child appeared unexpectedly. While we were all surprised by their sudden appearance, Michael boldly walked in. Following him was Emily, holding the hand of their child. Showing up now, of all times. This place is always so gloomy. Come on, hurry up and do whatever you need to with the flowers." I know. Michael, smirking and giving orders to Emily, seemed not to hear my voice. Emily looked worn out, lacking the energy to resist, while the child clung to her in silence. The relatives were visibly annoyed, but Michael seemed unconcerned. In the midst of this tense atmosphere, Emily was apologizing wearily. This attitude of Michael's was precisely my concern. My first impression of Michael was of a rude man. The first time I met him was at a family introduction. "Sorry, I'm late." He had arrived late to an important occasion. His excuse was that he had drunk too much the night before. He was always smirking, sizing us up with his eyes. My father and I were considering opposing the marriage at that point. However, his parents were genuinely nice people. They apologized deeply to us and made Michael apologize as well. Convinced by them and Emily, we decided to wait and see. Unaware of our concerns, Michael's impolite behavior continued. "Hello, Emily and Michael. Michael wanted to try your food, so I brought him along," Emily explained. I heard it was delicious from Emily. It was the same when Emily brought him to our diner. When Emily was with us, he always showed a calm demeanor towards everyone. It felt almost as if the way he acted during our initial meeting was a lie, so different was his behavior. However, the moment she said, "I'm just going to use the restroom." "Sure." As soon as Emily left her seat, the atmosphere changed drastically. He looked around the diner and then sneered disdainfully. "It's so common, kind of tacky, isn't it? What? And the menu, it's also mediocre." He kept making such remarks until Emily returned. I thought it was bad enough that I wanted to advise Emily to break up with him multiple times. Both my wife and father had reservations about Michael, and they hinted at Emily to consider breaking up. "Be careful, Emily. You are not alone anymore," Michael would say. "Yes, thank you," she would reply. However, Michael was kind to Emily, and she seemed happy with him. Moreover, Emily was already pregnant with Michael's child. Rather than leaving Emily to be a single mother, it seemed better to hold Michael accountable, so we couldn't just force them to separate. That was, in fact, the last time I saw Emily and Michael. After that, there was no contact, not even news of the child's birth. And now, here was Michael, sitting arrogantly before us. It seems my first impression wasn't wrong after all. He looked at Emily, who was praying in front of our father's altar with tears, as if he couldn't understand her. Given this, it's possible that Emily was hardly allowed to visit our father. "Are you okay?" Emily just shook her head. Clinging to Emily was my nephew, whom I was meeting for the first time, staring intently at me. "What's your name?" "This is Steve, my son. He's 5, Emily finally spoke. A 5-year-old still clinging to his mom. Can you believe that? Must be her soft parenting," Michael interjected with a scoff. Emily sighed deeply at his remark. It's not wrong for a 5-year-old to seek comfort from his mother, and it's normal for a child to be shy or freeze up in front of relatives he's meeting for the first time. In fact, while some relatives were concerned for Steve, none showed any discomfort with his behavior. It was Michael's attitude that was drawing puzzled looks from everyone. "Who's the lawyer?" Michael asked. "That would be me." William responded. And how much is Emily's father's inheritance worth? He was a major shareholder, right? At Michael's question, William silently showed him some documents. Michael smirked at them. The stocks and the $20 million inheritance from my father-in-law will be passed on to the eldest daughter, my wife. As Michael said this with a smile, I exchanged glances with the relatives. Could it be that Michael knows nothing about this? Glancing at Emily, she looked shocked. That made us all put on serious expressions. What? We found ourselves responding. Seeing our reaction, Michael looked puzzled and then showed signs of panic. What? And Michael echoed back with a similarly clueless expression. He really doesn't know anything. This could be a good opportunity, couldn't it? I managed to suppress my laughter and kept a straight face. Michael, it seems you're not aware of anything, I said. What are you talking about? He replied. Emily has no rights to the inheritance, I informed him. What? Don't give me that crap, he snapped back. Honestly, even though I'm younger, I wish he'd show a bit more respect to his brother-in-law. Seeing Michael start to get visibly irritated, I couldn't help but smile. Because Emily is. It's because I'm not biologically related to Dad. Emily herself continued. In fact, Emily and our father were not related by blood. Our parents had both remarried, bringing children from their previous marriages. I was my father's child, and Emily was my stepmother's. Nevertheless, I adored my stepmother, and Emily respected my father just like her real dad, and our parents showered us with love without distinction. Since Emily called me Big Brother when she was still in daycare, I've cherished her just like a real sister. My father often patted Emily's head, teaching her the business management that I had abandoned, and cherished her in his own way. Perhaps he even spoiled her more than me, being his daughter. However, my father had not legally adopted Emily. Emily's biological father, my stepmother's ex-husband, had cheated, leading to their divorce, and he insisted on paying only child support, leaving the legalities as they were. Therefore, Emily had no rights to the inheritance. What? I wasn't informed about this. Strictly speaking, you chose not to listen. Hearing our explanation, Michael became furious. Emily, looking exasperated, said to him, I tried to explain this to you both before we got married and when I heard of Dad's passing, but you never listened to me. What a joke. I came all this way to this rusty town, and it's all for nothing, Michael yelled, about to lash out at Emily. Stop it. William intervened, grabbing his arm faster than anyone else and restraining him. His expression was filled with anger. Taken aback by William's unexpected demeanor, I froze, ready to protect Emily. Emily, it's been a while, remember me? William, my brother's friend. That's right. Then William handed Michael over to the male relatives and gently addressed Emily, who was holding Steve. While keeping an eye on Michael, I was taken aback by William's quick switch in demeanor. Emily, I'm really sorry. Let me have a look. William, with a look of apology, gently lifted Emily's clothing, revealing painful bruises. This caused the women present to let out cries of dismay. James, do you have a first aid kit or something? Hang on, I'll get it right away. As we administered first aid, we got the full story from Emily. It turned out that Michael had occasionally been physically abusive towards her. Whenever he was displeased, he'd lash out as he had just done. Why didn't you say something sooner? Because after Mom went to heaven, you and the others let me stay in our home because I was your sister, even before I got married. You all subtly warned me, but I didn't want to cause any more trouble. Don't be too hard on her. She was probably in a sort of brainwashed state. Indeed, if she resisted, Michael would become violent, and since he spent all his earnings on himself, Emily had to work to sustain their livelihood. Amidst raising Steve almost alone, juggling work, childcare, and household chores, Emily was evidently exhausted. In such a situation, it seems she was drained of the will to resist, conditioned to comply with Michael's demands. "I just wanted to protect Steve at least," Emily said, her tears flowing freely. "Seeing my sister like this filled me with rage. How dare he harm my dear sister?" Looking at William next to me, he gave me a firm nod. "Emily, I'm entrusted with a will because your father trusted me, but my specialty is actually divorces. What? If you're ready to make the decision, I'll do everything in my power to help you. I'll ensure both you and your son are freed," William stated, holding Emily's hand and looking into her eyes with determination. "More than anything, your father asked me to help Emily, so I want you to take my hand. For your father, who was worried about you till the end, and to protect your son." Hearing this, Emily made up her mind. She firmly grasped William's hand in return. "I'll divorce Michael. Please help me." "Gladly. Leave it to me." Afterwards, Michael was taken away by the police we had called. His attempt to get violent was witnessed by all the relatives, who agreed to testify. Even so, Michael was still shouting, "You have no proof I laid a hand on her. What a sore loser." We all looked coldly at Michael as he was restrained by the police. Amid his ranting, it was Steve, of all people, who delivered the final blow. "Mr. Lawyer." "Steve, what's up? Does this count as evidence?" Steve said, offering up a cell phone. It was my father's phone, which had been missing since he was hospitalized, leaving us only able to communicate through the hospital's phone. Why did Steve have it? "I only met Grandpa once, but he told me to press this if Mommy was getting hurt and to show it to Mr. Lawyer later, and he would help." "I see. I'll borrow this." Upon checking, William found clear video evidence of Michael's abusive behavior. With such compelling evidence, Emily could surely win the case and secure a divorce along with compensation. "You brat. I'll remember this. You too, Emily. I'll never forgive you. That's our line. We'll never forgive you. And as long as I'm around, you won't get anywhere near them. What? Just wait. I'll make sure you pay for your crimes," William declared. Steve looked up at William with admiration in his eyes. It seems I wasn't needed after all. Watching the exchange, I couldn't help but smile wryly. And until the end, Michael continued his rant, only to be arrested. "We'll definitely win the compensation and triumph together." "Yes, thank you very much," Emily responded, finally smiling like she used to. Noticing William's flushed face as he looked at her smile, I realized something. Come to think of it, William has always been concerned about Emily. Mr. Lawyer really did help, just like Grandpa said. Seeing Steve happy made me think he was far better than Michael ever was. But then, have you all forgotten about me? I wondered aloud. Oh, my bad. After that, we decided to adjourn for now and reconvene later when things had settled down. After taking Emily to the hospital, I sat in front of my father's grave. I guess Dad was trying to protect Emily too. I feel ashamed for not realizing it sooner. Thank you. Because of Dad, we were able to save Emily and Steve. From now on, William will probably take care of them, but of course, I plan to help too. They are my dear sister and nephew, after all. Thanks to William's efforts as a skilled lawyer, we successfully secured a substantial settlement and child support for Emily, closing the divorce. Michael, who received a prison sentence for his actions, will be taken in by his parents upon release. They plan to send him to a distant relative who is a fisherman on a remote island. Someone Michael has always been afraid of, who has promised not to let him escape. With a restraining order also in place, Emily and Steve can now feel safe. Meanwhile, Emily and Steve have temporarily moved in with us at the diner. Emily's company has been informed of the situation, and she has been granted some time off. Well, sorry to bother you when you're so tired. It's okay. What's this important thing you wanted to talk about? Alone with Emily, I decided to share a significant truth with her. It's a will from Dad. He named you as his successor. What? Dad had made arrangements to name Emily as his successor and inherit his estate. Emily was taken aback by my words. Originally, Emily was being groomed as the successor to the company founded by our father, undergoing training for the role. However, her training was put on hold when she became pregnant with Steve. Even though I left things halfway, is it really okay for me to accept this? Of course, the funds I received to start this diner were given to me as a living gift, so now it's your turn to receive the rest. But, I nodded with a smile, seeing her reluctance. I'm grateful to you and Mom, I said. What? My dream of running a diner was inspired by Emily and my stepmom. Losing my biological mother as a baby, my stepmom's cooking became the taste of home for me. She taught me how to cook with kindness, standing by my side in the kitchen. After my stepmom passed away, cooking her dishes made Emily, who had been crying, smile and say, "It's delicious, it tastes like Mom's." Seeing that smile, I wanted to make more people smile with my cooking. I want to create a diner that brings smiles to people's faces like that. That desire became my goal. It's my way of thanking you for giving me a dream. I explained with a smile, and Emily nodded back with a smile. All right, I'll cook something delicious now. What do you want to eat? How about omelets? It was Mom's specialty, right? Leave it to me. Emily, like in the old days, smiled and said, "Delicious," as she ate my food. Steve too smiled brightly at her. Eventually, Emily inherited Dad's estate and took over his business. Furthermore, after William asked her out and they dated for about a year, they got married. Steve's words, "I wish Mr. Lawyer could become my dad," played a significant role in their decision to remarry. I'm genuinely happy to see them doing so well. Surely, Dad is watching over them from heaven, feeling relieved. By the way, when did you start liking Emily? Since we were kids. Remember how poor our family was? Your father's support allowed me to become a lawyer, but I always thought I wasn't good enough for Emily, so I never said anything. William, who played a significant role in this whole situation, is now happily smiling. His years of unreciprocated love finally paid off. Steve has grown fond of William, and they seem just like a real father and son from the start. Emily, who cried in my arms when our stepmother passed away. I truly wish for her to find happiness this time. All right, let's give it our all today. My family responds energetically to my words. Today, like every day, I'll continue making delicious food with my beloved family,